The approach of our analysis first looks to understand the three lenses and why they're important to MCPS, and second, develop a shared understanding of the issues impacting these factors through community engagement and data analysis. We're first going to look at facility utilization as the first of three lenses. We want to understand why facility utilization is important and what the range of facility utilizations look like across and within clusters. The reason why we're talking about facility utilization and school capacity is that it's important for maintaining reasonable class sizes while also accommodating population growth. The way that we define facility utilization is by dividing the number of students by the program's capacity. Program capacity means the number of seats available in each school. The number of seats corresponds to ideal classroom sizes. So, the number of seats in a kindergarten classroom will differ from the number of seats in a first through third grade classroom, and so on. The number of seats available can also vary according to specialized program. So when we calculate the program capacity for any given school, we are factoring in the number of seats available for a student in a classroom as it is approved by MCPS. MCPS aims to have schools that are utilized at rates between 80 and 100% of that school's capacity. That means we don't want to see schools that are utilized at under 80%. That's because that means the school has unused seats and unused resources. We also don't want to see schools with greater than 100% utilization because that means there are more students than there are seats and resources. We'll be looking at a few example clusters today. This is not necessarily because these clusters will represent a special focus area of our final analysis or report. We're using these clusters because they represent a great opportunity to create a demonstrative example for how we might look at other clusters. The clusters we've chosen are good models to represent capacity in this case, and in the future, diversity and proximity. Today we'll be looking at Watkins Mill, which has a cluster average utilization rate of 103%, which is very close to MCPS's target range. However, within that one cluster, there is a range of school capacities from underutilized at 78% to overutilized at 129%. That means in the overutilized school, there are 29% more students than there are seats or resources. It's also interesting to note that the most overcapacity school in the Watkins Mill cluster experiences an island assignment travel. So not only are these students traveling farther to attend school, they're traveling past underutilized schools to attend an overutilized school. If we zoom out to the county level, we can look at all elementary schools in Montgomery County across clusters. And we see, once again, a large variation in utilization rates, with a district average of 102%. But some schools are overutilized at 200%, meaning there are twice as many students as there are seats and resources, while other schools are underutilized at 62%, meaning there are almost half as many students as there are seats and resources. We want to pay particular attention to the map on the right hand of the screen, which shows the adjacencies of underutilized and overutilized schools. In gray, we see underutilized schools with many more seats and resources than there are students. And in red, we see overutilized schools with many more students than there are seats and resources. These schools, in many cases, are located next to each other. At the middle school level, we encounter a similar story, where at the district-wide level, we see a 97% utilization rate, which is right within the county target range. However, there are a few schools that have a utilization rate up to 124%, while other schools have utilizations around 67%. Only 23 of the 40 middle schools in Montgomery County fit within the target utilization rate of 80 to 100%. That means almost half of the schools in Montgomery County are either underutilized or overutilized, many of which on the middle school level are overutilized. At the high school level, once again, we see many adjacencies between underutilized or target level utilization schools and overutilized schools. So I'd like to invite you once again to take a look at the range of utilization rates at the elementary school, middle school, and high school level. When we look at the CIP data, we can also see what the projections are for utilization rates in schools across the county. Now, it's important to note that the CIP data does take into account planned school construction. However, it does not take into account potential boundary changes that have not yet been enacted. But what we do see is that if the status quo remains, schools will become much more overutilized and the gap will grow larger. Now we'd like to hear from you again. Based on our presentation about school utilization and school capacity, what feedback do you have for us about school utilization as a part of this boundary analysis? What else should we include in the analysis on school utilization?